Hello everyone, welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie and today we have another video. This time we are previewing the match where Manchester City and Real Madrid cross paths once again for the return fixture in their Champions League quarter-final at the Etihad on Wednesday night after the first leg lived up to the hype and then some more. Before we get going, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel, hit the Apex the F1 channel and at MCFC Hibs on Twitter. We will get going then, and an evening of spectacular strikes at the Bernabeu saw the two European titans share the spoils in a 3-3 thriller last week, and the reward for Wednesday's victor will be a semi-final test against either Arsenal or Bayern Munich. Encounters between Manchester City and Real Madrid in the Spanish capital rarely fail to live up to the pre-game billing, and last week's first leg was no difficult, as Rodrigo's trickling effort and a Ruben Dias own goal cancelled out Bernardo Silva's fizzing free kick during a frenetic opening 15 minutes. Another pair of world-class strikes from Phil Foden and Josko Vardio saw the tide turn yet again, but Carlo Ancelotti's troops had one last trick up their sleeve, potentially the most astonishing of the night, as Federico Valverde's exquisite volley capped off a 6-goal extravaganza. Coincidentally, 6 goals have also been registered in each of Manchester City's last 2 Premier League contests, but Pep Guardiola's men have come out on the correct end of the scoreline each time, coming from behind to conquer Crystal Palace before the weekend's 5-1 dismantling of relegation-threatened Luton. The smiles etched across the citizens' faces wouldn't have faded on Sunday either, as Arsenal and Liverpool's humbling home losses meant that the treble winners post a 2-point advantage at the summit of the Premier League table, far from insurmountable, despite the affirmations of some pessimistic Gooners and Reds. Now unbeaten in 27 matches across all competitions since December's lowly loss to Aston Villa, City have more than just a semi-final on offer this week, as progression would also see the Hosts equal a club record 42-game unbeaten streak on home turf, a feat set all the way back in 1921. Not since November 2022, before the Qatar World Cup, have Manchester City emerged from an Etihad encounter on the wrong end of the scoreline. But Ancelotti's Real Madrid are no strangers to extraordinary Champions League comebacks against their counterparts in Sky Blue. Thanks to Valverde's vicious volley with 11 minutes of normal time remaining last week, Los Blancos are yet to taste defeat in this season's Champions League and head to Manchester City with a 100% record from their 4 away games in the current season, albeit winning all of those contests by just a goal. However, a solitary strike from Aurelien Tchouameni, who's suspended for Wednesday's contest, was coincidentally enough to propel Real Madrid to a 1-0 beating of Mallorca in this weekend's La Liga battle, which keeps Ancelotti's champions-elect 8 points clear of Barcelona at the top of the table with 7 games remaining. Real Madrid's unbeaten sequence may not be as noteworthy as Manchester City's, but a 15-game streak without being beat is still nothing to be scoffed at, and the 14-time Champions League winners have some Mancunian history on their side ahead of Wednesday's midweek sojourn to the north of England. Indeed, the visitors have only managed to advance from 2 of their last 10 Champions League ties when failing to triumph in the opening leg, but both were against Manchester United in 2000 and 2013 against the Red Devils' noisy neighbours at a ground where they were crushed 4-0 last year, though that may not bear much significance. Manchester City could equal a club record that has stood for 103 years when we welcome Real Madrid to the Etihad Stadium on Wednesday night. The reigning kings of Europe will host the 14-time winners of the competition in the second leg of our Champions League quarter-final, with a tie finally poised after an instant classic between the two sides at the Bernabeu last Tuesday. Bernardo Silva gave Manchester City a second-minute lead with a smartly taken free kick in the Spanish capital, only for Madrid to turn the game on its head before the quarter of an hour mark with two quick-fire goals of their own. Pep Guardiola's men scored twice in the space of 5 minutes in the second half, both stunning strikes from Phil Foden and Josko Vardio respectively to regain the lead, before Federico Valverde threw his own contender for goal of the game into the mix 11 minutes from time. A topsy-turvy affair eventually ended 3-3, which gives Manchester City the slight edge at the halfway stage as we boast home advantage for the second leg. While Real Madrid's ability to produce results in Europe can never be underestimated, Carlo Ancelotti's side would need to do something no team has done in a long time if they're to progress into the semi-finals. The importance of having home advantage in the second leg of a Champions League tie can sometimes be overstated, but Manchester City's imperious record in front of our own fans suggests that we should be made firm favourites to finish the job in Manchester on Wednesday. Saturday's dominant 5-1 win over Luton in the Premier League not only ensured that Guardiola's side ended the day top of the table for the first time since November, it also extended our unbeaten run at home to 41 matches in all competitions. Manchester City have won 35 of those 41 games, as we've drew the other 6, with our most recent loss at the Etihad dating all the way back to November 2022, when Brentford emerged 2-1 winners in the Premier League. Should the Champions League holders also avoid defeat against Real Madrid on Wednesday, then we would equal our all-time club record unbeaten run at home. A 42-match streak that was set between December 1919 and November 1921. Manchester City have been incredibly dominant on our home turf throughout most of Guardiola's reign and have broken numerous records along the way, but we've never managed to reach that century-old mark before now. Guardiola's side have been subject to more criticism this season than during most of his years in charge of the club, and in the league we certainly have fallen slightly below our incredibly high standards from previous campaigns at times this season. However, we remain on course to complete a truly remarkable double treble of Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League, a feat never before achieved in football. Manchester City became only the second English team to win that particular trio of trophies last season, as we emulate in Manchester United's class of '99. And if we manage to do that again for a second year in a row, it would have to go down as one of the most impressive achievements in football history. Saturday's win over Luton took the defending champions to the top of the Premier League table. With Arsenal and Liverpool not in action until Sunday, it keeps us well in the mix to become the first team in English football history to win 4 top-flight titles on the bounce. Manchester City are also clear favourites to win the FA Cup this season ahead of our semi-final against Chelsea at Wembley next weekend, with a final against either Coventry or Manchester United awaiting us if we are victorious. Guardiola's men are regarded as the front runners of the Champions League too, and that position would only be strengthened with a win over Madrid in the quarters. Both teams are unbeaten in our last 6 Champions League games, as Manchester City have won 5 in a row and then drew. Real Madrid won 4 in a row before drawing twice. Last time out, Manchester City beat Luton 5-1 at home on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the Premier League. We've scored 76 goals in the Premier League this season. Last time out, Real Madrid won 1-0 away at Mallorca on Saturday at 5:30 in La Liga. They have scored 67 goals in La Liga this season. 23 goals have flown into the back of the net during City and Real's last 5 contests. which is an average of 4.6 per game, and another engrossing encounter ought to be on the menu between two sides boasting fully fit attacking contingents. There ought to be no repeat of the 4-goal drubbing dished out by Guardiola's charges a little under 12 months ago, but with the holders imperious on home soil, albeit without the defensive solitude to match, I expect Manchester City to remain on course for back-to-back continental triumphs and inflict a similar sense of Mancunian misery on Los Blancos. So I predict this game will finish Manchester City 3, Real Madrid 2, with Manchester City to win 6-5 on aggregate. The head-to-head then, of course, these two sides have faced each other 3 years in a row in the Champions League, starting on April the 26th, 2022 at 8 p.m. In the semi-finals first leg, Manchester City won 4-3 at home as De Bruyne scored in the 2nd minute, Jesus scored in the 11th minute, Foden scored in the 53rd minute, and Silva scored in the 74th minute. Benzema scored a brace with goals in the 33rd and 82nd minute, as Junior scored in the 55th minute. Guardiola was booked in the 54th minute for Manchester City, as well as Fernandinho in the 81st minute, as Nacho was booked in the 93rd minute. The second leg then took place on May the 4th, 2022 at 8 p.m, as Real Madrid won 3-1 and 6-5 on aggregate, as they scored 3 goals past the 90th minute mark, with Rodrigo scoring 2 in 2 minutes in the 90th and 91st minutes, as Benzema scored a penalty in extra time. Mahrez scored in the 73rd minute for Manchester City. The bookings in that game were as follows. Modric was booked in the 9th minute, Carvajal was booked in the 65th minute, Militao was booked in the 84th minute, and Valverde was booked in the 96th minute for Real Madrid. Laporte was booked in the 9th minute for Manchester City, Sterling was booked in the 101st minute, and Zinchenko was booked in the 113th minute. Last season then, the first leg finished a 1-1 draw, with Junior scoring for Real Madrid in the 36th minute and De Bruyne scoring for Manchester City in the 67th minute on May the 9th, 2023 at 8 p.m. We then faced each other on May the 17th, 2023 at 8 p.m. as Manchester City won 4-0 and 5-1 on aggregate, as Silva scored a brace in the 23rd and 37th minutes, Akanji scored in the 76th minute, and Alvarez scored in the 91st minute. Diaz was booked in the 50th minute for Manchester City, as well as Gundogan in the 62nd minute and Grealish in the 91st minute. Carvajal was booked in the 55th minute for Real Madrid, with Camavinga booked in the 75th minute. And last week it finished 3-3, of course, with Diaz scoring a 12-minute own goal, Rodrigo scoring a 14th-minute goal, and Valverde scoring a 79th-minute goal, as Silva scored for City in the 2nd minute, Foden scored in the 66th minute, and Vardy scored in the 71st minute. And the bookings in that game was Tchouaméni in the 1st minute and Carvajal in the 81st minute for Real Madrid, with Akanji booked in the 37th minute and Silva booked in the 88th minute. The form for both sides then, starting with Manchester City, we are unbeaten in our last 6 in all competitions, with that run being a 2-0 win at home to Newcastle, a 0-0 draw at home to Arsenal, a 4-1 win at home to Aston Villa, a 4-2 win away at Crystal Palace, a 3-3 draw away to Real Madrid, and a 5-1 win at home to Luton. And Real Madrid are also unbeaten in their last 6 in all competitions, with that run being a 1-1 draw at home to Leipzig, a 4-0 win at home to Celta Vigo, a 4-2 win away at Osasuna, a 2-0 win at home to Athletic Bilbao, a 3-3 draw at home to Manchester City, and a 1-0 win away to Mallorca. Jude Bellingham has said that joining Real Madrid last summer was an obvious choice for him, despite interest from several other top clubs, including Manchester City. Los Blancos are set to face the defending European champions in Wednesday's Champions League quarter-final second leg following an incredible 3-3 draw at the Santiago Bernabeu last week. With away goals no longer holding double value, if the teams remain level after another 90 minutes, the match will proceed to extra time and potentially penalties. The England international joined the La Liga champions last summer from Borussia Dortmund in a deal valued at up to £115 million, following discussions with numerous clubs. Pep Guardiola's side were among the clubs that tried to source Bellingham's services from BVB last summer, but were ultimately unsuccessful in convincing the 20-year-old to make the move. I had good chats with clubs including Dortmund, and my family were great in helping me chew up that information, the 20-year-old explained. It's difficult while you are still in the season to take in the information and process it and still have to play at the weekend or in the Champions League. I had conversations with other teams, but when Madrid came in, it was a no-brainer, really. The size of the club, the project, the plan going forward, the chance to play with such amazing players, I just jumped at it. That's why I made my decision, Bellingham admitted in his pre-match press conference. The former Dortmund man has been having an excellent debut season in Madrid as he scored 20 times and provided 9 assists in 33 appearances across all competitions. However, his form has tapered off recently with only 3 goals since January. When asked about this, he attributed it to his ankle injury he suffered against Girona in early February. While playing abroad at such a young age is fairly uncommon for English prospects, the midfielder noted that his rapid development in recent years might not have been achievable had he opted to join a Premier League club in 2020 instead of moving to Dortmund. He explained, I was at Dortmund for 3 years. I took a path that's a bit unfamiliar for players in England. It's different, but you learn a lot, and I take a lot back to the national team. But I'm grateful for the opportunities I've been given in European football. I think maybe they wouldn't be as accessible in England thanks to my parents and the people around me. I think playing abroad is definitely a good idea for young players, and hopefully I'm showing that. Los Blancos are currently leading the La Liga standings by 8 points over their arch nemesis Barcelona, who they will face in the final El Clasico of the season this Sunday at the Santiago Bernabeu. The top scorers for both teams then, starting with Manchester City, it is of course Erling Haaland, who has scored 20 goals in the Premier League this season and 33 in all competitions. His last league goal was at home to Luton on Saturday. He has scored 4 braces and a hat-trick this season. And Real Madrid's top scorer is Jude Bellingham, who has scored 16 La Liga goals and 21 in all competitions. His last La Liga goal was at home to Girona on the 10th of February. He scored 4 braces this season. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has indicated that Kyle Walker could play a role in Wednesday's Champions League clash with Real Madrid. Walker hasn't played for Manchester City since suffering a hamstring injury while featuring for England in last month's friendly against Brazil. As a result, Walker sat out Premier League games against Arsenal, Aston Villa and Crystal Palace before missing the 3-3 draw in the first leg of Manchester City's Champions League quarter-final with Real Madrid. The 33-year-old returned to the matchday squad for Saturday's 5-1 win against Luton, but he was ultimately left on the bench for the duration of the contest. Guardiola has suggested that Walker could be involved against Real Madrid, although he's yet to decide whether Walker will start the second leg at the Etihad Stadium. He feels much better, but he was injured, so now we will see in the next few days, Guardiola told reporters when asked about Walker's chances of starting against Real Madrid in Saturday's post-match press conference. But he's good, he feels good. Maybe he can help with minutes, but because it's a final, but I don't want to lose him for a long time if he gets injured. He will train a bit more now and we will decide. I know how important Kyle is against the players from Real Madrid, but he wasn't in Madrid, and Manuel Akanji, Josko Vardio, John Stones and Ruben Diaz played incredibly well. We will see. Guardiola will hope that he can call upon Walker's pace and experience to combat the attacking threat offered by Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. The England international remains a key figure in the Manchester City squad as he made 38 appearances. Having made 38 appearances across all competitions this season. While Walker will have to be assessed, Stones should be ready to feature against Los Blancos after missing the win over Luton as a precaution. He had some problems, some niggles, Guardiola said. He's fine, he isn't injured, but he felt uncomfortable, and we don't want to take risks, that's all. Meanwhile, Ederson's expected to start the second leg after he made his first appearance in over a month in Saturday's successful Premier League outing. With a tie currently level at 3 goals apiece, Manchester City will be hoping to make full use of home advantage and advance to the Champions League semi-finals for a 4th consecutive season. Pep Guardiola has confirmed that Kyle Walker is in contention to feature in the side's crucial Champions League second leg quarter-final tie against Real Madrid on Wednesday night. The stakes are high and everything is still to play for after the sides traded blows, ending in a thrilling 3-3 draw in Madrid just a week ago. Walker has been absent from City's lineup for the past 5 games due to an injury sustained in England's defeat to Brazil last month. However, he made a return to the bench in the side's 5-1 win over Luton on Saturday. Nathan Ake has also been sidelined since picking up a calf injury against Arsenal last month, but joined Walker as a sub against the Hatters at the Etihad Stadium last weekend. Addressing reporters ahead of the blockbuster showdown against Los Blancos, the City boss stated, "I'm going to wait and see the training and in the last 1 or 2 training sessions, see how he looks. But he looks good, his face, his mood. I don't know from the bench, from the beginning of the match if he will be with us tomorrow, but that's incredibly good news. We have the final training at 4 and then we will decide." Walker has been determined to make himself available to play some part in the clash with Madrid, given his pivotal role in neutralising Vinicius Jr. last season, particularly in the 4-0 win at the Etihad. The defending European champions will also welcome back defensive midfielder Rodri from the midweek encounter, it's having rested him for the Premier League fixture against Luton. It's understood that the 27-year-old Spaniard had requested that Guardiola give him a rest after the high-octane first leg, as he was feeling exhausted. If City manage to overcome Los Merengues, we will face either Arsenal or Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-final. Additionally, we have a last 4 encounter in the FA Cup against Chelsea scheduled for this weekend, and a victory against Mauricio Pochettino's side would secure a return to Wembley in May, where we would face either Manchester United or Coventry. The return of Walker, Ake and Rodri will also give the side a massive boost as we head into the final stretch of the Premier League season. With 6 games to go, the Sky Blues currently hold a slender 2-point lead over Arsenal and Liverpool at the summit of the league standings. Firmly in control of both our Premier League and Champions League destinies, Manchester City welcome Real Madrid to our Etihad base for the second leg of our quarter-final tie in the latter tournament on Wednesday. Last week's battle at the Bernabeu ended with both continental behemoths striking 3 times in a 6-goal extravaganza, one which undoubtedly benefits the holders more upon their return to home territory. As Arsenal and Liverpool faltered at the weekend, Pep Guardiola's crop took full advantage with a 5-1 pummeling of Luton, and that opens up a 2-point lead at the top of the table. All of Kyle Walker, Phil Foden, Nathan Ake and Kevin De Bruyne were at the host's disposal at the weekend in a quadruple injury boost, but frequent injury victim John Stones was nowhere to be seen. Guardiola revealed that the English defender was dealing with some niggles, but his concerns ought to clear up in time for the second leg, likely leaving the City boss with a full squad to pick from. Manchester City head coach Pep Guardiola has just one minor concern to contend with for Wednesday's Champions League quarter-final second leg with Real Madrid at the Etihad. The holders played out an action-packed 3-3 draw with a 14-time winners in last week's first leg, where Phil Foden was subbed with a knock and Kevin De Bruyne failed to make the starting 11 due to illness. However, both playmakers were in the ranks for the weekend's Premier League beating of Luton, where Kyle Walker and Nathan Ake were also on the bench following their fitness concerns. With Ederson also taking his rightful place in between the sticks, the Hulk's only slight worry for the second leg comes in the shape of John Stones, who was absent from the crushing of the Hatters owing to a niggle. Guardiola insisted that the England international was merely suffering from discomfort rather than injury, so there's every chance that the holders will have a fully fit squad for our reunion with Los Blancos. Stones' anticipated return could spell danger for Manuel Akanji's place in the back line, while Walker and Josko Vardiol, who has scored in back-to-back matches, should occupy the wide defensive positions. Despite scoring a screamer against Luton, Mateo Kovacic's spot in midfield is in danger thanks to De Bruyne's return to fitness, while Bernardo Silva, who was the scorer of a second-minute free kick in the first leg, should come back in alongside Rodri. The same can be said for Foden in the final third, as Julian Alvarez will be the man to make way, but the tricky Jeremy Doku could give Danny Carvajal a troubling time out wide and ought to rejoin Erling Haaland in the attacking trident, who's fresh from hitting 20 goals for the Premier League season. So my predicted team for Manchester City is Ederson in goal, Walker, Diaz, Stones and Vardiol as a back four, with Silva, Rodri and De Bruyne in midfield, Foden, Haaland and Doku in attack. As said previously, the only doubtful player for Manchester City is John Stones with discomfort. Moving on to Real Madrid then. Real Madrid will be bidding to book their spot in the semi-finals of the Champions League when they head to Manchester to tackle Manchester City in the second leg of their quarter-final. The last 8 contest is delicately poised following a 3-3 draw in the first leg at the Bernabeu last week. The capital Giants will enter this match off the back of a 1-0 win over Mallorca in La Liga, and they have an 8-point lead over second-placed Barcelona ahead of El Clasico next weekend. Thibaut Courtois underwent surgery on an ACL injury last August. The club's number one keeper has been in line to return at the end of March, but it was revealed before the international break that he suffered another knee injury in training, which led to a season-ending operation. Alaba suffered an ACL injury against Villarreal on December the 17th, and the Austria international won't be available for Real Madrid until next season. Rodrigo didn't feature against Mallorca on Saturday due to a knock, and the Brazilian will therefore need to undergo a late fitness test to determine his availability for this match. Real Madrid will be without the services of Tchouaméni through suspension on Wednesday, with a Frenchman picking up a milestone yellow card in the first leg of the quarter-final last week. Real Madrid have included Aurelien Tchouaméni in their 22-man squad for Wednesday's Champions League trip to Manchester City, despite the Frenchman being suspended. Los Blancos head to the home of the European champions after a pulsating 3-3 draw in the first leg at the Bernabeu last week, when the 24-year-old picked up a caution in the early stages. After Bernardo Silva opened the scoring for the citizens, an own goal from Ruben Diaz and a first-half strike from Rodrigo had Madrid ahead at the break. Completing a turnaround of our own, Pep Guardiola's men regained control of the tie courtesy of long-range efforts from Phil Foden and Josko Vardiol. However, the hosts managed to level the scores in the closing 15 minutes via midfielder Federico Valverde. Therefore, Wednesday's meeting between two European powerhouses on the blue side of Manchester is perfectly poised, although Los Blancos will be without the services of a first-team regular. With just 39 seconds on the clock at the Bernabeu last week, Tchouaméni brought down Jack Grealish with a sliding tackle and received the first booking at the contest. Having now picked up 3 yellow cards in the Champions League this season, the Frenchman isn't available for selection at the Etihad on Wednesday. However, in a strange move, Los Blancos boss Carlo Ancelotti has still included Tchouaméni in the 22-man visiting squad for the 14-time European champions. Real have a history of involving suspended players in matchday squads, with the La Liga giants being kicked out of the Copa del Rey in 2015 after fielding an ineligible player. Denis Cheryshev was meant to be serving a one-game ban in the competition, but featured in a round of 32 match against Cadiz as he scored in a 3-1 win. With Tchouaméni suspended for Wednesday's winner-takes-all clash against Manchester City, Ancelotti must find a new partner for Antonio Rudiger at centre-back. Nacho Fernandez has played at the heart of Madrid's backline during their 1-0 win over Mallorca in La Liga at the weekend. However, the Los Blancos team included a number of changes. Luka Modric started in the engine room alongside Tchouaméni, while Brahim Diaz and Joselu received rare berths in the 11 as Ancelotti opted to rest the likes of Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. After making a number of sub-appearances following his return from a serious knee injury, Eder Militão's a genuine option at centre-back for the visitors on Wednesday. Real Madrid head coach Carlo Ancelotti will be forced into a defensive alteration for the second leg of his side's Champions League quarter-final with Manchester City at the Etihad on Wednesday. Within the first minute of last week's absorbing 3-3 draw, Aurelien Tchouaméni picked up his third yellow card at the tournament, ruling him out of the second leg through suspension. The Frenchman has curiously been named in the travelling squad, but unless Ancelotti knows something that nobody else does, he will have to cope without the banned Tchouaméni in Manchester. The ex-Monaco man is one of 3 definite absentees for the second leg alongside ACL victims David Alaba and Thibaut Courtois, but Eder Militão is slowly regaining match fitness after his lengthy layoff. The Brazilian's an option to deputise for Tchouaméni in the heart of defence, but Ancelotti should continue on the side of caution, meaning that Nacho Fernandez should link arms with Antonio Rudiger at the back. The pair will protect Courtois' deputy Andre Lunin, while Ferland Mendy and Dani Carvajal will have the task of trying to keep Phil Foden and either Jeremy Doku or Jack Grealish quiet out wide. Both rested for the weekend's La Liga triumph at Mallorca. Toni Kroos and Eduardo Camavinga should be recalled into the engine room, where Eduardo Camavinga's a nailed-on starter thanks to Tchouaméni's ban. 2 changes up top will also see the Selecao pair, Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr., displace Joselu and ex-Manchester City product Brahim Diaz, while Jude Bellingham pulls the strings in the number 10 role as ever. So the predicted team for Real Madrid then is Lunin in goal, Carvajal, Nacho, Rudiger and Mendy as a back 4, with Valverde, Camavinga and Kroos in midfield, Bellingham behind Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. in attack. As mentioned there, they have 3 players out for this game, and they're Thibaut Courtois and David Alaba with ACL injuries, and Aurelien Tchouaméni is suspended. So that is it for this video then. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel. Hit the Apex the F1 channel and at MCFC Hibs on Twitter. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care and goodbye for now. Cheers, everyone.